The roar shook the surroundings, causing Wang Lin at that moment to seem like he possessed supreme divine might. As he took a step forward and reached the peak of the tower, he threw a punch. With a swing of his fist, the ancient head behind him roared even more violently, twisting as it spiraled forward, crossing over Wang Lin's body and merging with his punch, forming a blow that could shake the heavens and earth, the Tao ancient fist. The sound of explosions grew more intense, and almost in an instant, Wang Lin's fist collided with the top of the tower. A thunderous boom rang out, and the entire tower trembled violently. Wang Lin took a step back, his eyes flashing coldly. With a low growl, he moved again and unleashed a second punch. Boom, boom. The sounds shook the heavens. The tower quivered, and several fine cracks appeared instantly. A mere tower dares to seal me, Wang Lin. Wang Lin roared, his right hand gripping tightly as he unleashed a third punch. When this punch struck the tower, a deafening roar filled the air. The cracks tore open instantly, spreading across the entire tower. Finally, with a resounding crash, the tower completely collapsed under Wang Lin's 3 punches. Countless fragments spiraled outward, rapidly scattering in all directions. If one were to observe from within the million-strong mist, they would clearly see the tower's collapse, with the fragments swirling like a storm, spreading with a wail. Even more noticeable was Wang Lin, his white hair glowing under the golden light, stepping calmly out of the tower's wreckage, hands behind his back. The heavenly tribulation, though strong, did not faze Wang Lin in the least. To him, it was nothing, it couldn't punish him. At the very moment Wang Lin emerged from the collapsing tower, a rumbling roar came from the enormous crack in the sky. Meanwhile, a flash of golden light revealed the emergence of a third treasure from the crack. This treasure was a golden ring, and as soon as it appeared, the golden light pouring from the crack became blinding, releasing a tremendous pressure. This pressure was far stronger than the previous 2 treasures, instantly filling the million-strong mist, spreading outwards. Outside the mist, Situ Nan and the others felt the pressure and immediately trembled, a vague illusion of facing the might of the heavens rising within them. Nanyunzi's face changed, and he instinctively stepped back several hundred feet. He was affected like this, so the others, including the thousands of cultivators, immediately retreated. Some of the cultivators were slower to retreat, and the pressure hit them hard, causing them to cough up blood and turn pale, their minds struck with severe suppression. What kind of treasure is this? Nanyunzi's eyes filled with disbelief. With his cultivation, he could tell this pressure wasn't from a cultivator, but from the aura of a treasure. Outside the mist, the only person unaffected by this aura was War Ghost, who stood in the opposite direction. His hair stirred without wind, and his eyes gleamed with a strange light. His gaze, which had always been focused on Wang Lin, shifted for the first time to the golden ring floating from the crack. The soul-sealing ring. This is the third treasure from his memory when the heavenly tribulation was set. This treasure is famous even in the immortal firmament continent, but unfortunately, it became part of the heavenly tribulation. What a pity! War Ghost shook his head, sighing, but then his eyes lit up. If Wang Lin can subdue this treasure, his chances of becoming the third one will greatly increase. However, subduing it won't be easy. The pressure from the golden ring was palpable to Wang Lin as well. His eyes flickered, and for the first time, he showed interest. Just as Wang Lin's gaze fell upon it, the golden ring paused, and its pressure suddenly increased, violently surging. The mist within the million-strong fog churned violently, and the thousands of cultivators outside the mist again changed color and retreated. At the same time, the golden ring, in its violent surge of pressure, darted towards Wang Lin. As it moved forward, the golden ring strangely expanded, growing hundreds of feet in an instant. At an unimaginable speed, it quickly enveloped Wang Lin's body. With a sudden motion downward, it shrank rapidly after encircling him. Wang Lin's eyes flashed with a strange light. He didn't dodge or avoid it, standing calmly and awaiting the shrinkage. In an instant, the golden ring went from several hundred feet to only a few feet, forming a small circle around his forehead, tightening and embedding itself like a circular seal. This circular seal pressed tightly against Wang Lin's forehead, leaving a deep indentation. At the same time, an invisible ripple entered his body, passing through his flesh and reaching his essence spirit, where it formed an identical light ring, sealing his essence spirit. Even this is not over yet. After sealing the essence spirit, the ripple spread once more. Since it was formless, it entered Wang Lin's soul and sealed his soul. This is the soul sealing ring. Wang Lin closed his eyes, his expression calm, as if everything on his forehead didn't exist at all. He appeared completely unaware, yet within his closed eyes, there was a flicker of profound deduction. He had set his sights on this magical treasure, using his mental power to study its structure, seeking flaws and ways to claim it as his own. The quickest method was to experience it personally. During the heavenly tribulation, not dodging but letting the treasure of the tribulation approach him, to study and find a way to seize it. Only Wang Lin could do such a thing with such composure. He was bold by nature, and countless brushes with life and death had given him the clarity of insight. At this moment, with his eyes closed, the entire world seemed false. Within this illusion, his mind operated at an extraordinarily terrifying level. This was the result of his understanding of the ancient God, of being a cultivator, and the insights from the five-path origins, combined with his over 2,000 years of cultivation experience, and the grand wisdom of a top scholar. This created a terrifying power of calculation. In his mental calculations, when he looked, he saw that he no longer had a body. Everything had dissipated, leaving only the golden ring. This ring emitted endless golden light, formed by billions of runes, spinning at high speed. The speed was so great that the ring appeared almost tangible. Each rune contained an aura. These billions of auras were completely different, but when combined, they harmonized perfectly. As they spun, they could seal a person's body, then their essence spirit, and finally their soul. Once all were sealed, it was like sealing a person's life. This treasure resembled the sealing power of the Seal Annihilation clan, but there were some differences. Though this may seem slow, for Wang Lin, it took only a fleeting moment of thought to see through so much. This treasure is a semi-finished product. I don't know who used their divine powers to merge it into the heavenly tribulation, letting it grow complete through the tribulation. It's not far from its final form. In about 10,000 years, it may be finished. Interesting, heavenly tribulation. I think I understand something, Wang Lin said with a smile at the corner of his mouth. But at that moment, the roar from the rift in the sky grew louder, as though it was right in his ears. At the same time, a giant figure appeared within the rift. This figure was 1,000 feet tall, and as it emerged, a powerful ancient god aura spread out. As it stepped out of the rift, the full body of an ancient god was revealed. The ancient god had 8 ancient god star marks rapidly spinning on its forehead. Its expression was fierce, yet its eyes were hollow, devoid of consciousness. The ancient god star marks were slightly dim compared to Wang Lin's, and it seemed to have seals within them. This ancient god let out an earth-shattering roar as it rushed towards the still closed-eyed Wang Lin. Behind this ancient god, the roar from the rift grew louder, and 3 more ancient gods, each 1,000 feet tall, emerged. Their skin was rough, covered with countless scars, and they charged toward Wang Lin in a savage manner. The roars were deep and muffled. Within a single breath of time, as these 4 ancient gods stepped out, a torrent of demonic energy erupted, spreading like ink. In the midst of this, 4 ancient demons appeared. These 4 ancient demons had 8 demon stars, their faces twisted in cruel, bloodthirsty grins, as they followed the ancient gods, charging toward Wang Lin. It wasn't over yet. As the 4 ancient demons stepped out, an overwhelming monstrous aura surged, scattering the demonic energy. With sharp cries, 4 8-star ancient fiends twisted out like wisps of smoke. Their terrifying figures, with sharp claws and blue skin, made them a terrifying sight. 4 ancient gods, 4 ancient demons, and 4 ancient fiends. These 12 8-star ancient beings now surrounded Wang Lin, roaring as they closed in, getting closer and closer. Wang Lin still kept his eyes closed, still deducing the structure and flaws of the golden ring on his forehead. Among the billions of runes, his mind flickered, and with every understanding, the golden light of the runes faded. In a short amount of time, About 30% of the billions of runes were under Wang Lin's control, and after losing their light, the golden ring dimmed. It seemed as if he hadn't noticed at all. At this moment, the killing intent from the 12 ancient beings outside his body drew near. The first ancient god, who had appeared earlier, was the first to approach Wang Lin. Roar! The ancient god approached within 100 feet. For a being of 1,000 feet tall, this was almost within arm's reach. At the moment of approach, this 8-star ancient god roared and threw a punch at Wang Lin. A powerful storm raged, roaring fiercely as it swept up the surrounding mist. Behind the ancient god, a massive illusory shadow appeared. This shadow was another ancient god, but this one wore armor, and an endless aura of slaughter emanated from within. At the center of its brow, there were 9 star marks. Wang Lin, being an ancient god himself and a member of the royal ancient god lineage, knew clearly that any illusory figure behind an ancient god represented either their legacy or a loyal servant. This figure was a symbol, bearing witness to the identity of the ancient god and the source of their inheritance. Clearly, the illusory figure in armor with 9 stars was a representation of the 9-star ancient god, either a legacy or a servant of the 8-star ancient god. Despite keeping his eyes closed, Wang Lin could sense everything around him clearly. As the fist of the 8-star ancient god hurtled toward him, the starry sky trembled. With the fist closing in within 10 yards, the winds howled fiercely. Without opening his eyes, Wang Lin stepped forward and raised his right hand to meet the fist. In a single motion, Wang Lin didn't hesitate. As he continued his forward stride, his palm gently pushed the ancient god's fist aside. A tremendous roar echoed in the air, and in that instant, the ancient god's dim eyes revealed disbelief as his full-strength punch was effortlessly pushed away by Wang Lin's gentle palm. Pushing aside the ancient god's punch, Wang Lin lightly slapped his palm onto the towering figure's body. The ancient god spat blood, and his body staggered backward for miles. At that moment, 3 other ancient gods suddenly appeared, launching powerful punches from 3 directions. The combined might of the 3 8-star ancient gods was terrifying, but just as their fists neared, 7-star marks twinkled and rotated at the center of Wang Lin's brow. The royal ancient god star manifested instantly. Time seemed to slow for a moment. Wang Lin remained calm, eyes still closed, and took a step forward. His right hand gently slapped the fist of one ancient god. With a thunderous roar, the ancient god shuddered, his punch falling, and Wang Lin stepped forward, placing his palm on the ancient god's chest. The ancient god trembled violently, blood pouring from his mouth as his body was flung backward, rolling for miles. Wang Lin turned and, with both hands extended, grabbed hold of the fists of the other 2 ancient gods, despite only catching a small part of them. It was as if he had seized their very souls, and with a powerful push, the 2 were thrown away, blood spraying as they were sent flying. Though it seemed slow, all of this occurred in an instant. Wang Lin had sent 4 ancient gods retreating. His golden halo, which had been shining brightly on his forehead, now dimmed by half, rapidly dissipating. Once the golden light completely vanished, the halo would signify that Wang Lin had completely taken control. Though the ancient gods were pushed back, they were soon followed by ancient demons. The 4 terrifyingly fierce and bloodthirsty ancient demons charged toward Wang Lin, their demonic aura surging as they conjured bizarre powers. These powers were incredibly strange, some transforming into ancient demon artifacts, others into sharp, soul-piercing shrieks resembling demonic souls that circled the 4 ancient demons, heading straight for Wang Lin. A massive pitch-black battle axe appeared, conjured by one of the ancient demons, slashing toward Wang Lin. Still with his eyes closed, his expression turned cold. Ancient gods were of the same lineage, and he could hold back, but ancient demons and ancient fiends were of different bloodlines. The moment the battle axe descended, Wang Lin shifted his body, raising his right hand to press against the axe blade. With a powerful shock, the ancient demon shuddered violently, and the axe shattered, turning into countless demonic energies that swirled toward Wang Lin's closed right eye. In the blink of an eye, these demonic energies were absorbed completely by his right eye. As he absorbed the demonic energy, Wang Lin stepped forward with breakneck speed, arriving in front of the ancient demon. His right hand pressed against its chest, and with a violent pull, the demon's body exploded into countless blood and flesh, and a dense black aura was pulled from it, pressed into Wang Lin's closed right eye. The remaining 3 ancient demons, seemingly driven mad by their bloodlust, rushed in without hesitation, no longer caring about anything else. One reached Wang Lin's back, opening its mouth wide to devour him. Meanwhile, the other 2 ancient demons flanked him from both sides, their demonic powers surging toward Wang Lin, their shrieking attacks bearing down. The 4 ancient fiends were closing in as well. Wang Lin's expression remained calm, his eyes still closed. The halo on his forehead had nearly completely dimmed, with only a sliver of golden light struggling to persist. He did not turn around. Instead, the moment the ancient demon behind him began to devour, he stepped back, directly colliding his back into the ancient demon. With a loud crash, the ancient demon let out a sorrowful cry. The demonic aura exploded, forming a storm. In that storm, the ancient demon's body collapsed, but Wang Lin's body didn't pause. The instant he walked out of the storm, he raised his left hand and pressed it against the body of another ancient demon, and the karma seal appeared once more. As he absorbed the demonic aura, Wang Lin moved with ease. He approached the last ancient demon. Countless divine abilities of the ancient demons rushed at him, yet they seemed transparent, passing through Wang Lin as if he were invisible. In the ancient demon's astonished gaze, Wang Lin pressed his palm directly against its chest. A rumbling echoed as the ancient demon's body turned to mist. Before it could dissipate, it was bizarrely sucked into Wang Lin's palm, vanishing completely. None of this caused the 4 ancient fiends to stop. They continued to screech as they charged at Wang Lin from all sides. Wang Lin didn't move. Instead, he pressed his right hand against his closed right eye. As his hand lifted, the golden halo on his forehead, the last remaining trace of golden light, suddenly faded. With this, the halo that had once constricted around his head no longer held any light. Wang Lin's eyes opened. Beyond the million mists, War Ghost's expression turned ecstatic. He stared at Wang Lin in the depths of the mist, his eyes shining brighter and brighter. In such a short time, he really has subdued this treasure. He might be the third one, not just 30%, but 50%. I searched for countless years in the inner domain, and the 7 colors searched for years in the outer domain. We've never found the third one. We didn't know where it was hidden. If I could find it first. Where Ghost's eyes gleamed, and he clenched his fist tightly. Back with Wang Lin, as he opened his eyes, the golden bloodline formed from the immortal, indestructible body appeared in the center of his forehead. It spread along the dim halo on his forehead and instantly traversed his entire body. As it spread, the halo erupted with brighter golden light. But this time, the golden light was Wang Lin's own. You wish to die? Wang Lin's white hair billowed without wind, the golden halo still faintly visible on his forehead. Dressed in white robes like snow, the moment he spoke, a terrifying aura of slaughter spread from his body. With this murderous aura, Wang Lin raised his right hand and pointed at the sky. Suddenly, a gigantic golden palm imprint materialized. Soul Subjugation Seal. It was Wang Lin's first time using it since waking from the dream Tao, and its power was far greater than before. The instant it appeared, the entire starry sky shook. As the immense palm imprint, nearly occupying the endless sky, descended, the 4 ancient fiends trembled. With their screams, the palm imprint pierced through their bodies, obliterating them completely. A wisp of demonic aura spread out, gathering in Wang Lin's left eye, where it was all absorbed. And you 4, as ancient gods of my race, should have died on the battlefield. Yet, your minds were erased, turning you into puppets. I can feel your sorrow, as a king. Wang Lin's eyes revealed sadness as he looked at the 4 ancient gods charging toward him from 10,000 feet away. He raised his right hand and pointed at them. Immediately, the direction of the soul subjugation seal that had obliterated the 4 ancient fiends shifted, following Wang Lin's finger and heading straight toward the 4 ancient gods. Wang Lin closed his eyes, as if unwilling to watch. The instant he closed his eyes, a deafening rumble erupted. The four ancient gods turned into smoke, their faces showing signs of relief before they vanished. The heavenly tribulation. It's time for it to end. Wang Lin raised his head, opened his eyes, and gazed at the vast rift. With each step he took toward the crack, as he approached and stepped into it, his pupils suddenly contracted. Inside the rift was the same world he had seen before, endless in sight. The sky was dark, and the ground was dotted with countless massive stone statues. These statues were of ancient gods, ancient demons, and ancient fiends. A true immortal aura filled the air here, faint but clearly distinct from the outside world. This immortal aura was from the immortal firmament continent. Beneath Wang Lin, on one of the ancient demon statues, stood a young man with white hair and a white robe. His eyes gleamed coldly, and he gazed upward at the sky. Wang Lin's gaze froze the moment he saw this young man. This young man's appearance, expression, and aura were identical to his own, indistinguishable. "Who are you?" Wang Lin's eyes returned to normal, and he spoke slowly. Putting on mystique, Wang Lin let out a cold snort and stepped forward. In an instant, his figure shot forth like a meteor, completely ignoring the eerie white-haired youth, and instead heading straight for the vast, boundless, and strange continent ahead. However, after taking less than 100 feet forward, Wang Lin's eyes flashed. He suddenly stopped, looked ahead, and raised his right hand to slap the air before him. With that slap, ripples appeared in front of him, spreading out to form a barrier like a water veil. This barrier carried a thick, immortal aura. Not only did it dispel the force of Wang Lin's palm, but it also created a backlash that surged into his body from all directions, formless and swift. "You cannot enter." The eerie white-haired youth stood within the water veil barrier, atop the ancient demon statue, shook his head, and spoke calmly. "You want to know what the heavenly tribulation truly is. You want to understand its origin. Then defeat me, and you will know everything. Don't be surprised I know your thoughts, because I am you." The white-haired youth took a step forward. His hair flowed, his clothes fluttered, exuding an ethereal aura. "Since ancient times, you are not the first third-step rebellious cultivator. But none have survived the true self-tribulation. I look forward to seeing whether you can." He smiled faintly as he spoke, and with a single step, he walked out of the water-like barrier, halting just over 10 feet from Wang Lin. He extended his right hand and pointed at Wang Lin. "Dare, or don't dare." Wang Lin's eyes gleamed with icy light. Without a word, his body flickered forward. In a flash, he rushed at the white-haired youth. His right hand lifted, fingers splayed into a palm, and he instantly neared his target. The true self-tribulation, intriguing. The white-haired youth remained composed, stepping forward in the same manner. His right hand also formed a palm, mirroring Wang Lin exactly. The scene was incredibly eerie. Any onlooker would have been shocked to the core. Two figures, identical in appearance, expression, and clothing, unleashed the same divine technique. In the vast world, they streaked like meteors, drawing ever closer. In an instant, they met. Wang Lin's eyes flashed with killing intent. His right palm collided with the youth's in a thunderous clash. Boom! A deafening explosion shook the heavens, echoing endlessly in all directions. It was as if the heavens were roaring in fury. The sheer volume overwhelmed the ears, leaving only the continuous rumble reverberating endlessly. As the echoes rolled on, both Wang Lin and the white-haired youth, in perfect unison, clenched their 5 fingers inward the moment their palms touched. Another earth-shattering boom erupted. A wild storm burst forth between them, blasting fierce winds that whipped through their identical white hair and garments. In that moment, even their expressions were the same, cold, murderous. The act of grasping, like forming a fist, was not just physical. It sought to extract the other's very origin. Though described in detail, all of it happened in an instant. Both simultaneously clenched and yanked back violently. The white-haired youth immediately spat out blood, his body hurled backward. Blood streamed from his 7 orifices. His left eye transformed into a flaming totem, while his right eye held a lightning mark. The origins of karma, life and death, truth and illusion trembled within him, surging out from every opening as if being torn away, finally coalescing into a ball of primordial chaos chi, which Wang Lin seized in his hand. Wang Lin, too, spat blood. His expression and the shock to his origin were no different from his counterpart. From his 7 orifices, his origin was similarly gripped by the white-haired youth's fist. Both reeled backward, retreating 100 feet in perfect synchronicity. Even their thoughts were identical. At the same moment, they raised their hands and pressed the origin, drawn from the other through the karma seal, onto their brows to replenish their own depleted essence. No need to test further. Your thoughts are mine. Your divine arts are mine. I am you. If you're trying to probe with divine arts, it might work on others, but not on me. The white-haired youth wiped the blood from his lips and gave Wang Lin a strange smile. If you still don't believe it, then let me help you believe. With that, he stepped forward, his figure shooting toward Wang Lin like a rainbow streaking across the sky. Raising his left hand, white mist surged forth like a roaring tide, forming a dense fog. His right hand lifted, black mist followed, thick as ink. With both hands raised, the white-haired youth neared Wang Lin in an instant and pushed both palms forward. Life and Death Seal. A powerful aura of life and death erupted from the body of the white-haired young man at that moment. His left hand contained life, as if holding the essence of all beings in the world, while his right hand grasped death, as though controlling the cycle of birth and extinction. As they neared, his left hand pressed towards Wang Lin. White mist howled, rushing towards Wang Lin to devour him. This white mist was a life force, seemingly harmless, but Wang Lin understood that this life force was part of the life and death seal. Once it entered the body, the death mist would follow, and the life and death seal would be complete. With a grim expression, Wang Lin coldly snorted, raising his left hand as well. The life force spread into mist, enveloping the surroundings. Under this mist, his left hand penetrated through, meeting the white-haired youth's life force palm, causing a violent clash. A deafening roar sounded as both their bodies trembled. Life force surged into their bodies, disrupting their internal energy. They both spat out blood, but did not retreat. Instead, they simultaneously raised their right hands, colliding fiercely once again. The roar reverberated, the wind and clouds shifted, and the very earth trembled. Wang Lin and the white-haired youth were both forced back, blood splattering from their wounds. But as they retreated, they both let out a low growl. Life and Death Seal. Life and Death Seal. With a thunderous crash, Wang Lin landed on the ground, skidding backward with each step. Every step shook the earth, and he retreated 100 steps before stopping, his face pale. Inside his body, chaos reigned as the life and death seal erupted. Had he not understood the cycle of life and death, he would have been severely injured under this strike. The white-haired youth also retreated, crashing into the water veil barrier. After breaking through, he landed on top of an ancient demon statue. The moment his foot touched it, countless cracks spread from beneath him, enveloping the entire statue. With a deafening sound, the statue shattered, and after the shockwave dissipated, the white-haired youth coughed up blood, his expression twisted with rage, but a strange smile remained on his lips. How about it? The karma seal, the life and death seal, and all the divine arts and techniques you possess, I can use them all. How can you kill me? What do you have to kill me with? The white-haired youth's smile grew broader, until he was laughing maniacally. The two were separated by the water veil barrier. Wang Lin's expression darkened as he stared at the white-haired youth beyond the barrier. Without hesitation, he closed his eyes. The moment he did, the white-haired youth's expression changed, and he also closed his eyes. Both of them closed their eyes at the same time, invoking the path of truth and falsehood. In this path, closing the eyes signified the false. Everything in the world became an illusion within their minds, and with a single thought, truth and illusion could be reversed. With their eyes closed, it was as if the world no longer existed in their minds. Everything was an illusion. But this illusion was not a haze. It was as though they both had seen through the very essence of everything, understanding all things. In an instant, Wang Lin's eyes suddenly opened, and at that same moment, the white-haired youth's eyes snapped open. Their gazes clashed, cold light flashing. In the path of truth and falsehood, opening the eyes was truth. All the previous illusions became real once their eyes opened. In this shifting of truth and illusion, they could see through everything. In the blink of an eye, both of them closed their eyes again. At the moment their eyes closed, Wang Lin raised his right hand and waved it outward. Path of truth and falsehood, everything is illusion. With the movement of my heart, dust returns to dust, earth returns to earth, and everything dissipates into smoke. The white-haired youth also waved his right hand outward and spoke the same words. Both of them merged their hearts with the path of truth and falsehood, dissolving everything. If done alone, this technique would be extremely powerful, but now, as they faced each other, both performed the technique simultaneously. As their right hands swept through the air, their bodies trembled violently. A deafening explosion echoed, and both of them spat out blood, their bodies hurtling backward. But after only 3 steps, Wang Lin forced himself to stop, reversing the internal energy within his body. His body swayed before charging toward the white-haired youth, who mirrored his actions and rushed toward him. The two came closer and closer, and in an instant, they met at the center of the barrier, both extending their right hands, pointing at each other as they shouted the same 3 words. Spirit stabilization art. As their right index fingers touched, both bodies shook violently. The spirit stabilization art didn't just freeze their bodies, it locked their souls, all the internal operations, and even the flow of time itself. In that instant, the entire world's laws and the cycle of ages were frozen by their combined strength. With the spirit stabilization art in effect, their bodies immediately stopped moving. As they fell toward the earth, Wang Lin's mind was calculating and deducing. It should be just like this. Wang Lin's actions up until now had actually been planned from the very first moment his fate collided with that of the white-haired youth. However, he could not afford to think too much about it. According to his analysis, if he allowed himself to think, the other party might very well sense it. Seizing this brief moment, he quickly calculated the result in his mind. Wang Lin dared not let his thoughts linger for too long, fearing that the other party might detect it. So, he made his mind go blank in an instant, without a single thought turning. As their bodies sank downward, just as they were about to hit the ground, the spirit stabilization arts on both of them dissipated simultaneously. In the instant it faded, both moved without retreat, their eyes flashing with a cold light, and they immediately launched a savage attack on each other. Booms reverberated as the two, within a very short time, unleashed more than 10 identical divine arts, including the white fan immortal arts, the clear water technique, and even Wang Lin's self-created Dao art. Under these various divine techniques, thunderous explosions erupted, shaking the heavens and earth, echoing in all directions, and causing the dark sky to be filled with constant roaring sounds. Among them, even the origin of fire and the origin of thunder were fully deployed. But in the end, the result was mutual injury. Both spat out blood, their expressions growing darker, with a faint sense of desolation. With a huge crash, Wang Lin quickly retreated, gasping for breath. The brief battle had been extremely strenuous, and he vaguely sensed the kind of troublesome feeling others might experience when facing him. He was an ancient god physique, and so was the white-haired youth. He was at the mid-ethereal stage of the 3rd step, and so was the youth. Wang Lin had even taken out a magical artifact, but to his shock, the white-haired youth did the same. At this point, Wang Lin immediately stopped using any more artifacts, as he had a faint realization that everything the youth had done was due to his own actions. Useless. I am you. You can't kill me. The white-haired youth stopped his retreat, wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth, and laughed grotesquely. Wang Lin remained silent, his eyes growing colder, his killing intent more intense. After a brief pause, he rushed forward again, his speed like a bolt of lightning. The white-haired youth sneered, taking a step forward and charging straight at Wang Lin. Boom. The two collided once more, their divine powers clashing. Their palms met, and after exchanging injuries, they were both sent flying back. But as soon as they were pushed apart, Wang Lin growled and charged again. The cycle repeated, once, twice, 3 times, until after more than 10 exchanges, both had completely emptied their minds. All that remained was a maddened thirst for blood. Wang Lin's eyes were bloodshot, and the white-haired youth's eyes were similarly filled with madness. Kill! 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 Wang Lin roared, making hand seals. The origin of thunder surged, transforming into endless lightning that crashed forward. The white-haired youth also roared, repeating the same words. His own lightning surged forward, charging directly at Wang Lin. In an instant, they collided for the 19th time. With a deafening boom, their thunder clashed, creating a violent shockwave that made both of them tremble. Wang Lin's right eye almost shattered. Retreating, Wang Lin let out a loud roar, his eyes closing. The Tao of truth and falsehood enveloped him, and as he closed his eyes, everything in the world became false. The white-haired youth also let out a howl, closing his eyes, and was enveloped in the same duality of truth and illusion. But in the instant the white-haired youth closed his eyes, Wang Lin opened his own eyes wide. In that gaze, there was no trace of madness, only calm. It was as though everything before had been deliberately staged, and even the madness had been nothing but a lie. The white-haired youth's mind shook, and all his senses faltered. His face changed drastically for the first time, and his body moved differently from Wang Lin's. He rapidly retreated, trying desperately to open his eyes. But Wang Lin had been waiting for this moment for so long that he would not allow the youth to succeed. Wang Lin took a step forward, his right hand raised and pressed against the white-haired youth's chest. With a forceful pull, he yanked the youth outward. Karma seal. The origin was ripped out, and the white-haired youth screamed in agony, spitting out blood. He barely opened his eyes, but as they flickered open and shut, Wang Lin's left hand, imbued with the energy of life, landed with a booming impact on the youth's forehead. At that moment, Wang Lin's right hand absorbed the earlier extracted origin and crashed down once more on the youth's brow. This time, it was infused with the aura of death. Life and death seal. Impossible. The white-haired youth's face turned pale, disbelief filling his open eyes. He spat out more blood, his body on the verge of collapse as he staggered back. All of this happened within the blink of an eye. As the karma and life and death seals heavily injured the white-haired youth, Wang Lin's eyes snapped shut. The moment he took a step forward, his eyes opened again, exuding a chilling calmness. His gaze fell on the white-haired young man's eyes, causing the latter to tremble mentally, a feeling of fear rising within him. He hesitated, unsure whether to close his eyes. If he closed them and the other party vanished again as eerily as before, it would be a calamity for him. But if he didn't close them, and the other's path of truth and illusion turned out to be real, he would suffer a severe injury from the clash of truth and falsehood. As he hesitated, Wang Lin's eyes, which had been open, suddenly shut. In that instant of closing his eyes, everything in his mind became false. He raised his right hand and violently waved it in front of him. The white-haired youth let out a horrific scream, retreating rapidly. His body roared with constant explosions as blood spurted from him, dyeing his white clothes red. He rushed straight towards the water veil barrier. His body, under the influence of the path of truth and illusion, became blurry, as though it could dissipate at any moment, but he stubbornly held on. His screams echoed, full of terror. "It's impossible. This can't be happening. I can replicate everything about you. Your memories, your thoughts. There is nothing that can hide from me. There's nothing I don't know. You can't fool me. You can't trick me. I am you. Unless you can trick yourself. I understand now. The path of deception. Damn it. This is Liu Jinbiao's path of deception." The white-haired youth roared in realization, but his body accelerated as he rushed toward the barrier. As long as he reached it, he would no longer fear Wang Lin. He knew that as long as Wang Lin didn't kill him, he could never enter the barrier, which shimmered like a water curtain. Indeed, as the white-haired youth said, everything Wang Lin had done up until now was part of the path of deception. First, he had attacked relentlessly to perform the spirit stabilization art without arousing suspicion, using this technique to gain a fleeting moment, during which he quickly deduced everything. This deduction wasn't the main point. The real point was that during that instant, Wang Lin secretly performed the dream Tao, transforming it into the path of deception, tricking himself as though he were falling asleep, and then deceiving the self who had just cancelled the spirit stabilization art. Amidst the brutal clashes and repeated collisions, everything Wang Lin did was within the path of deception. It was as if his mind had split into two, one deceived self battling furiously with the white-haired youth, while the other calm and composed self was searching for an opportunity to kill. That opportunity came when the white-haired youth mistakenly believed that Wang Lin was going to use the path of truth and illusion and closed his eyes. All of this had been deduced in an instant by Wang Lin using the spirit stabilization art, and without hesitation, he had executed it, leading to the current outcome. If not for this, completely killing this version of himself, the tribulation of the true self, would have been even more difficult. Even so, Wang Lin still couldn't destroy the white-haired youth's body in such a short time. The difficulty of killing this person, who was almost indistinguishable from him, was something Wang Lin keenly felt. Battling with himself in this way was something he wasn't used to. At that moment, the white-haired youth had almost immediately figured out the cause and effect, causing Wang Lin's eyes to narrow. He watched as the youth rapidly retreated toward the water-like barrier. Once the white-haired youth entered the barrier, having realized Wang Lin's methods, he would become even harder to deal with. For him, making a mistake could only happen once. He would never fall for the same trick twice. Staring at the retreating figure of the white-haired youth, Wang Lin's eyes flashed with a cold gleam. He would not allow him to escape. This person had to die, without using any divine abilities to stop him. Even though the spirit stabilization art couldn't truly prevent the other from escaping, as the white-haired youth was about to enter the barrier, Wang Lin gritted his teeth. A decisive look appeared in his eyes, and without hesitation, he raised his right hand and slammed it into his right leg. With that strike, his right leg trembled, the flesh and bone becoming a bloody mess. The bones creaked under the unbearable pressure, as if they were about to snap. At the same time, the white-haired youth let out a shrill scream, and his right leg twisted, the flesh disintegrating, revealing the same injuries as Wang Lin's. It was as though Wang Lin's strike had landed on his leg. How did you understand so quickly? The white-haired youth's eyes widened in horror as blood spurted from his mouth. He was already heavily wounded, and now, with his right leg shattered, his body staggered, slowing down. As his pace slowed, Wang Lin's body shot forward like a lightning bolt, crashing through the air with a thunderous sound. He collided with the white-haired youth, his body passing through his. With a resounding crash, the white-haired youth's body shattered, breaking into pieces and completely dissipating. As he vanished, the water veil barrier, which had blocked Wang Lin's entry, distorted and scattered. Wang Lin did not rush forward. Instead, he stood there, closed his eyes, and activated his cultivation. The power of the ancient god gathered in his right leg. With the immense strength of his mid-ethereal stage in the third step and the astonishing healing power of the ancient god, his injuries rapidly healed. Moments later, Wang Lin suddenly opened his eyes and took a step forward, entering the dispersing water veil barrier. However, just as half of his foot stepped into the barrier, Wang Lin's body came to a sudden halt. He saw it.